Hi, everyone. We're going to go ahead and get started. Welcome to Show and Tell for the month of October. Happy fall to everyone. For those of you who are new to joining us, this is a monthly webinar that the global team here at FS does. Every month, we invite a couple of our different teams from around the world to hop on and just share with you all some things that are currently inspiring us. Hopefully, they'll inspire you as well. We will follow up with you later this week with not only the recording from today's webinar, but also a doc with all of the links. So don't feel the need to copy everything down as we go. We'll share all of those with you tomorrow or Friday. So before we jump into the links, today we're joined by our team members from the home interiors team and the graphic design teams. So really excited for that. I'm going to turn it over to Ellie from our marketing team just to go over a couple of upcoming events and webinars from the FS team that we hope you can join. Hi, Ellie. Oh, sorry, Ellie, before you say that, sorry, forget this part. A little bit of housekeeping. We love to hear your comments and questions as we go through the webinar, so please do utilize your chat box. Just be sure to choose everyone in the pull down so that not only those of us from the FS team can see your comment or question, but also everyone attending the webinar as well. Okay, Ellie, now it's up to you. Go. Hi, Ellie.
Love it. Thank you so much, Michael. Hi, everyone. So I'm Ellie, Marketing Manager at FS. To some exciting events we have coming up in the month of October. So in exactly a week, on the 9th of October, we are hosting our SS25 Women's Fashion Week Insights webinar, where we'll discuss the key insights from the most recent fashion weeks. So you'll hear from our experts in women's wear, accessories, youth, pattern and graphics, and materials. And then on the 16th of October, we are hosting a webinar that will explore how our projected 2024, the future of wellness trends have evolved throughout the year. Our FS Beauty and Wellness experts, alongside Spate's data science team, will dive into the evolving conversations around key wellness trends, from honoring aging to the latest innovations in gut health. We'd love for you to join us at either or maybe both of these events. So to register, visit fashionsnoops.com/events. But I'm also going to pop the registration links in the chat in just a few moments. Also, there is no slide for this, but since our lovely home and lifestyle team is joining us in today's show and tell, I'd also like to mention that they will be attending High Point Market later in October, where we're hosting a dynamic series of events featuring trend presentations, curated trend galleries, and panel discussions. So to learn more, again, please visit fashionsnoops.com/events. But that's all from me. Back over to Michael to kick off the October show and tell.
Thanks, Ellie. Lots to talk about in that women's runway webinar. It's been quite a month. Did you guys see this morning? Eddie Slimane left Celine. What are we thinking that he's going over to Chanel? That's what a lot of us were talking about. Should be exciting. Apparently, the guy that's the creative director, Ralph Lauren, is heading to Celine. So a lot of musical chairs. All right, Kristen, who leads the home team, she's going to kick it off for us for the month of October. Hey,
Hi,
Kristen.
everyone. Hi, my name's Kristen Moonjin, and I'm the Director of Home and Lifestyle. My first link today, it's a quick one. It's about this new flower that was discovered completely by accident. It's called the Daffodahlia because it looks like a mashup of the daffodil and the dahlia. I am obsessed with this flower, and so is everyone else apparently, because it has gone completely viral. And it was actually discovered by Kelsey Hall, who's the owner of Cattle and Cut Flowers out in Washington. She saw the flower growing on her farm and was in disbelief. And after having the flower tested, she confirmed that it is, in fact, disease-free. So she feels confident that she isn't spreading any known disease in her field. And there's been this overwhelming response by people to get their hands on the seeds for this plant, but it's still a long ways away from getting to that point. But Paul has already been working to see if the mutation can be stabilized this winter. She's also letting the blooms stay on the plants to see if they could pass the genetics on to the next season. So I really love this flower. A hobby of mine is actually floral arranging. So for me, this is really cool. And my mind instantly went to all the incredible arrangements this flowers would make. So we'll see what happens for the daffodillia, but even if nothing comes of it, I thought it was just too beautiful not to share.
You want to watch this? Let's
Yes,
see. I
please.
love the name, by the way.
Me too.
Like that, like yellow eyes, so baby, close your eyes. Yo, bro, who got you smiling like that?
I
Like,
love how layered it is.
I
So pretty.
know. It's so beautiful.
Can you share some of your floral arranging another month, please?
I can. I've been practicing a lot, so I'll definitely share some of that.
Here's some
But
other.
yeah, here's some more imagery and just an article on Martha Stewart about the flower.
Did you want to watch? Should I click this, Kristen?
You don't have to click it. We could go
Okay,
move
cool.
on to the
I see.
next link.
Okay, great.
My next link is something that has been capturing my attention in the travel world. So more and more hotels are offering classes and workshops to help their guests learn new skills. And some of these classes are quite interesting. You could learn woodcrafting, yodeling, and mountain biking in Austria. You could take pottery classes in Portugal. You could master the art of calligraphy or embroidery in Italy, all on site at the hotel you're staying at. And I just think it's really interesting because all of these hobbies are regionally specific. So it's a great way to learn about the different cultures and traditions of the place that you're visiting. And something we've been talking about so much at FS is the importance of authenticity and regional craft. And I really love how these hotels and resorts are leaning into that. I had the opportunity to visit Portugal last year, and I would have loved to take a pottery class. And I'm sure it's something I could have found, I could have found a place to do it, but it wasn't even something that was on my radar. So the fact that some of these hotels are offering these workshops to their guests takes a lot of the legwork off of them and also helps them to immerse themselves in the culture even more. And that brings me to my next link, which is right next to the first one, which is another trendy hotel amenity, which is actually language classes. So this follows the same sentiment of giving guests a deeper understanding of the destinations they're visiting. And this type of program is being implemented across hotels and resorts across the globe, from Mexico, where you can learn Spanish, to the Four Seasons in Hawaii, where you can learn Hawaiian words, to the Royal Mansoir in Marrakesh, where you could sign up for calligraphy lessons to learn the language's elegant script. Cruise brands are also starting to implement this, Norwegian Cruise Line being one of them. So I personally would take any of these classes. I think they're all really cool. I had a staycation not too long ago in the Hudson Valley, and the hotel I stayed at had an entire program of classes and workshops, and I took every single one of them that they had to offer while I was there. And so I took an ice cream making class, I took a cocktail making class, and those offerings were the highlight of my stay. So I think these regionally specific classes are even more special to the guests, and it's a really great way to learn more about the places you visit. So really love all of these. I want to look for this when I'm, booking my next vacation. I think it's really cool.
I love this. I've definitely noticed this myself traveling. I think about a year and a half ago, I stayed at a really great property in Hudson Valley called the Hutton Brickyards. It was an old like bricklaying factory. I think it's in Kingston. And they had a class. Actually, it was like yours are very like crafty and like artisanal. This was actually a class like teaching you how to do bricklaying and things, which I found really interesting. So Must be this very millennial Gen Z thing that we love to learn. And
Yeah, absolutely. I
yeah,
love it.
yeah, very cool.
All right, so my next link is all about the major makeovers that diners have been undergoing recently. So, this newly reopened Kellogg's Diner in Brooklyn has been all over my newsfeed this past week. And the diner has been around since 1928 and recently underwent some very big changes. And for context, the diner shuttered its doors last year after filing for bankruptcy, and the new owners wanted to keep the diner and its legacy alive, but it definitely needed some updating, it needed a change. So they brought in an entirely new team of chefs, including Jackie Carnesi, who previously worked as executive chef at Nura. And what they did was update the menu and gave the interiors a facelift, but they made sure that they didn't lose any of its nostalgic qualities, which I really appreciate. I'm actually from New Jersey, and we love our diners here. It's a big thing, but part of the charm is the history, and I love the authenticity of a diner that really hasn't been changed in decades. So I think it's really important to keep the legacy of these places alive while updating them for a new generation of consumers. And it really is this fine line. And I think this diner in particular did a really good job with it. They kept the original signage, they kept the exterior intact, but most importantly, they've made sure that there's something for everyone on the menu. As with any almost century-old diner, there are many regulars who are used to the old iterations of the place, and Carnesi and her team made sure there was something for them as well, which they kept the affordable price point and the larger portion sizes for those customers. But what really stands out to me is the updates to the menu. The menu is a fresh interpretation of the beloved American diner classics, but it has this Tex-Mex flair, which is inspired by Carnesi's upbringing in Texas. So that includes things like this cornmeal masa pancake and Texas French toast crusted in cornflakes, which I want to try. You also have things like chicken fried steak and poblano meatloaf. So it's your classics with a little bit of an update. And food has been a major source of inspiration for us here at FS. And I just really love the way they've photographed the diner and its offerings. If you go to the next link, Michael, you'll see the images of the interior. And I just really love the way the food is plated. I love the plates themselves. I love the colors that are showcased throughout. It's all just so nostalgic, but modern at the same time.
It's so old, it looks contemporary.
Yeah, I love it.
Yeah. It is really interesting. There's been a huge influx in popularity of like cookbooks from the 70s and 80s, especially by younger consumers. Um, which this certainly matches that kind of vibe,
Totally.
but it's really interesting. You guys do love a silver diner in Jersey. We have a lot of them in
Oh, yeah.
Connecticut too. It's a
Oh,
very
yeah.
northern thing. So, but Jersey is definitely the land of diners.
Absolutely. But we're also seeing some renovations to Jersey diners as well. So it's definitely interesting. And with that, it brings me to this other link. So we're seeing these types of renovations and rebrands a lot across the entire food industry. So we're seeing it with these standalone restaurants like Kellogg's Diner, but also with big chains like Perkins. So Perkins announced a rebrand a couple of months ago, and they're overhauling all 300 of their locations. So they have an entirely new look, a new name, which is Perkins American Food Co., and a new menu. So you could just scroll through the photos to see how different the chain is going to look. But this rebrand comes in response to tougher competition and 2 years of high inflation. So we're seeing that a lot of chains are revamping their menus and adjusting their pricing to attract more inflation-wary diners. And if you go to their Instagram account, you could see a little bit more of that. They highlight some of their prices. They highlight their new logo on their Instagram page. They have a completely different look. But similarly to Kellogg's Diner revamp, Perkins is tapping into what they call a vintage fresh look, with its restaurants aiming to usher in an Americana vibe. So it just goes to show that keeping the nostalgia alive is really key right now for companies and consumers. Perkins president Tony Ronan, I apologize if I mispronounced that, describes it as a slice of yesterday that feels like today, which I think perfectly encapsulates everything we're seeing happening, especially in the diner industry. So with the rebrand of this size, there's definitely been some backlash. Some people love it, some people hate it, but I do think it will usher in new customers, and I'd love to hear everybody's thoughts on how they feel about it in the chat.
Yeah, and I know in the article it also mentioned Cracker Barrel renovating a lot of their interiors, kind of getting rid of a lot of the like, I don't know how to say this, all the crap it's in the restaurants typically. But apparently it's like it's very polarizing. I've actually seen
It is.
in comments of articles, a lot of like older consumers really find the more minimal aesthetic a turn off, but then they're trying to appeal to a younger consumer that doesn't want to be surrounded by all that dusty stuff.
Yeah.
So it's really
It's a
interesting.
balancing act. You really can't please everyone, but
Yeah,
it's just interesting to see.
that's
It is
awesome. Kristen,
interesting. Sorry,
yeah,
I
go
just
ahead.
wanted to jump in on that because, like, as a young person who loves Cracker Barrel, I don't want it to change.
I'm
Oh,
with you on
really?
that one.
I
I
Okay.
love
know, I
Cracker
love
Barrel's
it.
charm.
But you want the rocking chairs and all the grandma
Yes,
interior stuff. Okay,
yes.
I got you. That's good. Kristen, when you get a chance, Chris on the chat would love to get that name of the resort you were mentioning, the Hudson Valley, whenever you get a chance.
Yes, it's called Habitas, but it's temporarily closed. So unfortunately, we can't go there. But I don't know what's going on, but I'll type it in the chat for you to check out anyway.
So many amazing spots in the Hudson Valley now, like
Yes,
especially in the last 5 years. So there's others. Thank you, Kristen. Great links. And now
of
we're all
course.
hungry for diner food. All right, we're gonna turn it over to Carolina from the home team as well.
Hi, thank you, Chris, for making me hungry. I haven't had breakfast yet, so I'm craving some pancakes right now. Hi, everyone. I'm Carolina. I'm a strategist for the home and lifestyle team here at Fashion Snoops, and I'm really excited to be here with you today to dive into some of the key themes I've been exploring recently. So this takes us to the Bottega Veneta Spring 2025 show in Milan. And when attendees arrived, they weren't seated in your typical fashion show setup. Instead, they found themselves sinking into these 15 different animal and insect-shaped beanbag chairs made of leather. And Bottega Veneta's creative director was inspired by the joy and curiosity we feel as kids, especially when we try on our parents' clothes and everything feels kind of like playfully adult. And what's interesting is that in today's world of fashion, creating the right environment for the runway has become just as important as the collection itself. And the setting, I feel like, enhances the story designers want to tell, like an extension of their vision. And these playful and nostalgic beanbag chairs weren't just about comfort. They were about transporting attendees back to their childhood and making them feel, the wonder and excitement that comes with experiencing fashion for the first time. And it's a reminder that fashion and design is more than just, clothes or things. It's about the emotions and memories we attach to them. So I love these chairs, and then I saw the price and I was like, maybe not.
Yeah. Yeah, they're pretty expensive. What I did love is that how they mentioned that each celebrity that got to set on one during the show, like Jacob Elordi, et cetera, Julianne Moore, that they kind of matched the celebrity intentionally with, a specific character, which I would love to hear the background, like, of, why.
How they choose it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. But super cute. And, who doesn't love a beanbag chair? We all do.
We all do. So now we're gonna switch gears a little bit and talk about a film.
This is very opposite.
Yeah. talk about a film I watched over the weekend called The Substance. And let me tell you a little bit more about the movie. The movie is a satirical, kind of like body horror film directed by, pardon my French, Coralie Farjat. And it dives deep into some like really heavy themes, particularly around aging and beauty and the pressures placed on women. And the main character is called Elizabeth Sparkle, that is played by Demi Moore. And she was one famous kind of like actress, but now finds herself relegated to hosting daytime aerobics on TV. And on her 50th birthday, she gets fired by a network executive that is played by Dennis Quaid, and who tells her that renewal is inevitable, which is a harsh way of saying that there's no future for aging women in the industry. And she becomes kind of like desperate to regain her youth and relevance. So she gets her hands on a mysterious black market drug that is known as the substance, and it promises to give her a younger version of herself. And that's how we meet Sue, that is played by Margaret Qualley. And but there's a catch to this. They have to share time, and one lives for 7 days each, and they must remember they are one, despite being in two bodies. And things, of course, this is a horror movie. Things start to get horribly wrong. And what's fascinating about The Substance is how it uses the body horror genre to tackle very real everyday horrors that women face, like the obsession with youth, the way society treats aging women as invisible, and that pressure to conform to beauty standards. And the film goes all in with very graphic depictions of injecting and vomiting and bleeding and transformations that are really violent, and definitely is not for the faint of heart.
Mhm.
But it really creates this kind of like intense psychological tension and disgust that really drives the message home. So
Agreed. I saw it on Friday after Hallie, who leads our visionary team, she had posted about it on her Instagram, and I love Demi Moore, and I went to see it, and wow, I knew it was going to be disturbing, but it was a whole other level of
yeah,
disturbing, but also beauty, like the aesthetic and the cut. Like there's a scene where she wears this beautiful yellow coat, which
yes, I'm obsessed with the yellow
yeah,
coat.
like everyone's gonna want a yellow coat for winter.
Yeah,
But yeah, you should definitely check it out. It's really worth seeing.
yeah,
But I'm
it's a
glad that she got her flowers for this because she's an amazing
yes,
actor. So
yes. The performances from everyone here, they are amazing. But
mhm.
yeah, definitely, if you like horror, you're gonna enjoy this movie a lot.
Yeah.
And to wrap up, I want to celebrate the last days of Hispanic Heritage Month by introducing you to an incredible photographer. Her name is Ana Margarita Flores, and she's a Peruvian Swiss artist who uses her lens to deconstruct the stereotypes surrounding indigenous Andean women. And she has this project called Donde Florecen Estas Flores, and it's an stunning tribute to the women of Peruvian highlands, and she showcases their cultural identity through traditional garments like polleras and enaguas. And what I love about this photographer's work is that it's so impactful how she blends documentary and fashion photography to challenge the narrow perceptions often associated with indigenous women. And by doing so, she highlights their strength, their resilience, and their crucial role in preserving Peruvian heritage. And she returned to her birthplace in Cusco, and she collaborated with these indigenous women led craft collectives, building trust and honoring their stories. And I feel like this project isn't just about beautiful visuals, it dives deep into the complexities of identity and internalized racism and, her own personal journey as she navigates her mixed indigenous and European heritage. So I just really, really, really love the pictures that she takes.
Beautiful. Each row is more beautiful than the last.
Yeah.
So gorgeous. I also love how the kind of style is definitely evolves and changes.
Yeah.
Really beautiful. Thank you, Carolina. Great links.
Thank you.
All right, home team, we appreciate it. We're going to jump along to our amazing graphic design team who makes everything beautiful on our site. So excited to hear what is inspiring them for the month of October. And we're going to start off with Lily May.
Thanks, Michael. Hi, everyone. I'm Lily May, and I'm one of the senior graphic designers here in FS. I'd like to kick off the graphic segment with this artist. His name is Benjamin Shine. So he's most known for his tool works, and he's been featured in the Metropolitan Museum of Art, has done collabs with Beyonce, Mason Margiela, and Givenchy, just to name a few. I think you could see his work with Mason Margiela in the second post, I think. Yeah, that one. And if you could please click on the fifth post. Sorry, Michael.
No, you got it. I got you.
You can see his process and how he meticulously irons the tool to create this almost ethereal portraits.
Wow.
Yeah. I love seeing his process.
Crazy. How long does this take? 350 hours, I just saw. Wow. Wow, wow.
Right? I think my favorite one is the one where he has the 5 of his portraits together, actually. If you could please scroll down a little bit, it should be down there.
Tell me if you see it.
Uh,
Right here?
yeah, no, actually a little bit more.
Okay. Look at these colors.
There you go,
Yes.
that one. Yes. I feel like visually they look so beautiful and like so powerful seeing it together. I mean, if I could afford his work, I'd definitely buy the whole set,
It's so good.
right? So pretty. And onto my next set of links. So this is a quick preview of the generative fill AI tool us graphic designers use in Photoshop. I think it was released in early of last year. But yeah, if you could please play the video before I jump into my next link, that would be great. We don't have to
Great.
watch the whole thing.
I got you. Wow. Okay, Adobe.
All right, so if you guys haven't had the chance to play around with it, it's been such a game changer for our team. So on the contrary, with almost everything so digitized now through the use of AI, I found it really refreshing that this artist, I think her name is Claire O'Neill, she's in my second link. So she creates this generative fill in real life. So basically she uses your picture as a starting point and she extends it and creates this beautiful backdrop on canvas. So that's one of, yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. But if you want to click on the fourth post, actually, that's my favorite.
What's your
I think,
favorite? Okay.
yeah, the details that went into that, so to seamlessly blend the photograph with their painting is so good.
Complete opposite of AI. Much appreciated.
Right? So yeah, it's kind of nice to return to like a more organic process versus all these AI generated images.
Mm. I so wish I could paint.
Me too. I actually did something almost similar like a few years back. I took a Polaroid and I extended the image. I mean, it's not as good as what she does, but
Wow. These people are so talented. I'm assuming that people can,
yeah.
yeah, they can pay her. They can hire her. Great. Wow, and very reasonable too.
For sure.
Yeah, cool.
And yeah, so those are my links today. Thanks for your time,
Thank you,
everyone.
Lily May. All right, another food. This is very alienating food ingredient. Some people love it, some people hate it. Beatrice, let's talk about mayonnaise.
Yeah, so hi guys, I'm Beatrice. I'm from the graphics team here in FS as well. I just wanted to share this because I thought it was funny and weird at the same time. Just this high fashion collab with Tropova Lovena with Hellmann's. So some people might have already seen they showed this in their fashion show in the London Fashion Week. And I just, think funny because, if you want to get some mayo with your chips in the middle of the streets, it's so handy. It's actually in your hand. But the founders, they say, the fashion brand founders, they say that it was a cool bag that could also be could have like ridiculous functions and could also be cool and weird. And I just think it's a nice, also not the first time a fashion brand's collaborating with a food brand, but I just think it's cool to, see how fashion can team up with other brands and what we can see coming from that. So yeah.
Listen, if you don't like mayonnaise, you have a spoon, you could do yogurt instead.
Yeah, well, I suppose in that space you can put whatever you want, so it's up to you.
All right, thanks, Beatrice. And
Thank
then
you.
Katie. Hey, Kristen. Kristen's coming back again. Cracker Barrel fan, Kristen.
Yeah, that's me. Hi, everybody. I'm KD. Oh yeah, I'm on the graphics team, but I'll jump into my first link. This is a link to a resin artist named Kiko Flo. She's an artist based in Texas, making dolls that probably look familiar to some of you. She coined them partly sunny angels. So this guy right here, they are making dupes of these. But they're now known as Kilo's Cupies. So they're taking the little cherub boys and reimagining them in like a new mystical way. As the market grows for toys like geared towards 20-something-year-olds like me, and the market for Sunny Angels alone last year was like $3 million. And that's just those toys. Um, and they become harder to get just like due to sheer demand, and they only release like so much. I like the idea of like making these unique and accessible, even though some of these are coveted too. She even got the seal of approval from Sunny Angels, because somebody impersonated them and gave the cease and desist, but it was fake. So they messaged her directly and were like, no, we like what you're doing, like keep doing it. So right in time for Halloween, she released the Addams Family Cupies. This series is hand-sculpted brains, intestines, glow-in-the-dark skeletons, eyeballs, and all things creepy cute, which is very much my vibe. I love horror. And Sunny Angels, so I will be getting one. But I wanted to share because for the girls in the chat who like to collect toys like me.
Creepy cute. Honestly, this is super cool. Until like 5 years ago, I'd never heard of like the original dolls. Someone once said like I looked like one because I have a big head and big eyes, but I had never heard of them before. This is way cooler than the ones from like the 60s or whatever.
Yeah, I have like kind of the inspiration for like the Cupid, like this
Oh
one.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
So that's you. No, I'm just kidding.
Thank you. Yeah.
Um, but we can go to my next one. So this one is a little bit closer to home for me. So this is a photographer based in South Florida who goes around and takes notable pictures of like landmarks and like places that if you grew up in South Florida, you know and love. The first posts are like the high schools in the neighborhood, in the county, I shall say. But I find this account very important and very interesting. One of my favorite posts is that one, because places like this currently are getting shut down. And every time I go home, something has shut down and a high rise is being built. So due to climate gentrification, really, people who could afford to live on the coasts are now moving inward and displacing lots of low-income families. On top of that, a lot of these neighborhoods are predominantly people of color. So it is something really sad to know, but I feel like this is a great reminder and I don't know, like a great token of like this is like encapsulating it in time. He's also went to other places like in LA and Chicago to show these neighborhoods too. But yeah, it's just sad to see neighborhoods that have been historically disinvested in until now because they want to change that for people who want to move inland. So yeah, this one was close to my heart because every time I go home, yeah, it feels very different. But yeah,
It's
so
a
I hope
different form of nostalgia for sure. I remember,
yeah.
I wish I could remember the photographer's name. I think someone shared another account maybe a year or so ago that was very similar, and it was a lot of, neighborhoods and communities that, had seen better days. And, but it's a really, you're right. It's a very important thing to, to document.
Yeah, it feels important.
Yeah.
And last, this is just a visual artist that I have come across of recently and very much like. So their name is Dresdon, and basically it is where an artist and you come together so you can send him videos of like things that you've seen, and his job is to like annotate it. So if you want to click anyone you want, it's fine.
Okay.
So I just think it's super cool idea, and like the fact that he crowdsources videos from like other people and like the messages on top, like how high will my soul go and stuff like that. It's just like kind of like I don't want to say deep because I feel like that's the wrong word, but like it is like kind of thought provoking and like all these videos that are just like of streets and like then like these messages are like on top. Yeah, I just find it super interesting.
It also is very reminiscent of like a sci-fi movie or something, like,
Yeah.
viewing reality through through kind of a augmented lens or something.
Yeah, for sure. And I think that's really, really cool.
I
So,
think it's cool. I haven't really seen a lot of artists like annotate like reality as you go. Like it's very poetic in a way.
yeah, it's like kind of like meta. I don't know. I just
Yeah,
like
yeah, yeah.
really like it.
Nice.
But yeah, I think those are my links, but thanks for letting me share.
Yeah, thanks. And then I'm actually gonna close it out today just because it's timely. There's not a lot to show here. I want to really read a few things, but kind of like talking about the colors of politics, and CNN style to this article a few weeks ago that I thought was really interesting. And it's not just American as well, but here in the U.S. with we have a big national election coming up in a month or so. But typically we think of Republicans or conservatives being a red party, and Democrats or liberals being a blue party. And now, of course, we even mentioned red states, blue states. But it was really interesting that this has only been a thing since really the turn of the century, since around the year 2000. And in fact, previous to that, blue was usually a color that went with the Republican Party, and red went with the Democratic Party. And so I kind of read through this really great article, and I just want to, to mention a few things, but I thought it was really cool. So, with the Republican Party, or as they call it sometimes, the GOP here in the US, a lot of times there's this association that they were blue all the way back to the American Civil War, and that's because Abraham Lincoln's Union Army often were identified by their blue uniforms versus the gray that the other side typically wore. Internationally, blue is often linked with wealth and conservatism, which of course is usually a really expensive color to produce. Red is usually associated with radicalism. And if we think about like the blood of workers rising against their oppressors, red features on a lot of flags, especially of left-leaning political organizations, from, thinking about Red China to social democratic parties of Western Europe, Canada, and even Australia. So because of that, typically you would see, you would think that red would be used for more progressive causes, in maps. And of course, neither party here in the US even has an official color. It's really more of a media created type of thing. And, obviously TVs were black and white for the most part until the 70s, and newspapers didn't even print in any kind of tonal color until much later than that. So it's just really interesting that kind of color television allowed the media to start using colors for political parties. And here in America, typically they kind of kept with the theme of the American flag with red, white, and blue. It really wasn't until the year 2000 in Bush v. Gore that the very first map was printed from USA Today the day after Election Day. And that is the first time that they kind of assigned suddenly blue to being Democrat and red to being conservative. Before that, a lot of times people just thought in the media, they just kind of put red with Republican because red, Reagan, Republican, all R's. So it was really interesting about that, that they kind of had that logic. I thought that was really interesting. And even like looking in the UK and just kind of all of the history there, it's definitely something that we've seen in other places. Colors obviously typically influence, how we think and behave. Obviously, we all know studies have pointed to blue being a soothing color. A lot of times retailers use blues in their interiors. Blue street lights apparently can prevent suicides, reduce crime. But this I found really interesting, just to take it beyond politics for a second. There are some psychology researchers that have argued that sports teams wearing red are more aggressive and successful than those in other colors. Although, if you read more into it, these findings really have been challenged. And in fact, a lot of people that work with, sports psychology have concluded that there's really no real validity to that at all. But just something to think about, how, it's become, very much thinking about the concept of the tipping point, that it's become, very much a thing that we associate here in the US with red, with conservatism, and blue with progressives. But it really hasn't been that reality. And it kind of reminded me about how, like, until the turn of the 20th century, pink was obviously a connotation for boys and blue went with girls, and then it somehow flipped all of a sudden. So yeah, actually I just see Janine just put that very same thing in the chat. So very, very interesting, something to think about. You rarely, here in the US, you rarely see people try to use other colors in local and state campaigns. Every now and then you'll see a teal, or you'll see maybe a bit of green, but it's really, really uncommon. Everything is like either red or blue. So I thought that was really interesting. So those are our links for today. Thanks, team, for joining me for this. Again, if you were on today's webinar, we'll follow up with you tomorrow or Friday with all the links, as well as a video. And if you want to catch up on any previous show and tells that you may have missed, you can find them on our YouTube channel, or if you're a client, just check out the webcast portion of FS, fashionsoups.com. Thanks for joining us, guys, and we'll see you first Wednesday in November for the next show and tell. Have a great month. Happy fall. Take care.